Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the PHNX Rising Show, brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and also leave a 5-star review. My name is Ramon Chavez. Super happy to be here. Alongside me is my partner, Owen Evans. How you doing, sir?
You know what? It's been a busy week again, hasn't it? It feels like all of these weeks are busy weeks, and the problem is that normally we'd be happy and looking forward to the
Hmm.
weekend and hopefully a good game of football. But right now everything's so negative that we
That's
don't really have
pretty.
the good game of football to look forward to, do
Yeah,
we?
yeah. You're not joking. Yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend. It's also a 4th of July weekend, so that should be fun as well. But I want to thank everybody in the chat right now. The one account in particular, Thomas, Reese, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for joining us, McVee, Christian over here. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday night. We have a great show for you today. Of course, we're going to be talking about Saturday's game against Orange County. That's going to be a home game. I feel like we haven't been at Wild Horse Pass in a while, right, Owen?
It has been a while, yeah. Possibly feels worse because we want to kind of bleach those last two home games from the memory.
Mm-hmm.
But they did indeed happen almost three. Yeah, it's almost 3 weeks ago now since we
Yeah.
last saw a home game. And then after this one, it's not going to be until the very end, almost of July. We got another two away games after this one before they come back. So
Mm-hmm. So yeah. If you can make it this weekend, definitely show up at Wild Horse Pass to support the boys. It's going to be a great time. Yeah, we're going to talk about obviously about the game, maybe some predictions, talk about that. There was also a great article on the USL Championship website that actually came out talking about Phoenix Rising. So we're going to deep dive into that and take a look at that, and then kind of just finish off with some predictions. Talk to you a little bit more about what's going on Saturday as well, and of course taking a look at what will happen this weekend around the USL. All right. So Owen, the title of today's show is Now or Never. And the reason I went with that title is because again, there was an article on the USL Championship website regarding Phoenix Rising. Now, often when you would see Phoenix Rising on the cover of the USL Championship website, it's because they were doing really well. But in this occasion, it's because they're not doing so good. And so, if you guys take a quick look at that article, it basically highlights why Rising hasn't been doing well, kind of deep dives into some stats. And also, it talks about the games in July that are coming up, and we've talked about that several times already on the show. Owen and Nicholas Murray, who was the writer of that article, basically breaks down each date, each game that Rising will have during the month of July. So let's take a quick look at that, Owen. And before we talk about Orange County, because that's going to be a really important game this month for Phoenix Rising. And of course, they're the defending title holders. They won the championship last year, but they've been actually having a little bit of a championship hangover, if you can put it in that way. So that's the first game that Rising will have on July 2nd. Right after that, Rising will travel to Memphis, which is the current Eastern Conference leader. After that, they'll be on national television against Louisville City and in Louisville for the USL Summer Showcase. And Louisville right now historically always been great, but also they're second in the East right now. After that, they'll face Sacramento, which is never an easy task these days. After that, Oakland, and then to finish off July on July 30th against Colorado Switchbacks at home. So looking at those games, Owen, you got Orange County, Memphis, Louisville, Sacramento, Oakland, Colorado. So basically in that article, it's summing it up that it's a make or break month for Rising. If they're not able to get any points this this month, you can kind of kiss playoffs goodbye at that point. So how do you feel about this? How are your thoughts and feelings heading into this month of July?
Well, June was the make or break month, and they broke. So it kind of stands to reason then that July again, you really, really, really need to get those points on because you got to get back on track. The reason we
Hmm.
said that June was a make or break month is because we saw how terrifying July looked, and it
Hmm.
looks terrifying. Let's be real, right? You've got Colorado Springs is one of your home games, Sacramento home games. So outside of Orange County, two of your three home games are just
Hmm.
bad news because they're both teams. I mean, Sacramento's already beaten Rising once this season up in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Colorado Springs are just on a different level to what we usually see them as, and they are justifiably right up there battling for top spot in the league. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, they probably are up there or thereabouts at the minute anyway. They did lose, admittedly, to Hartford in midweek, so hey, but still, and then the away games, Louisville, Memphis, they are hard games.
Yeah.
Very hard games. You are traveling away to two of the top teams in the Eastern Conference this season.
Yeah, and
How are you meant to rack up points? How do you get momentum going in these games? This is what June was for. When you're playing against Loudoun and Vegas.
Yeah, that was
You
the
know,
time
teams
to pick
that
up
are
these
just
points.
yeah, that's how you build momentum. If you'd have won Loudoun, Vegas, and then you come home and play Orange County and you win that game, you got a 3-game winning streak. You're building momentum. You're putting the negativity behind you. You're saying, okay, we're back on track. We can get it going. And maybe then that kind of momentum you've built helps you go away to a Memphis, helps you go away to a Louisville and find a way of grinding out a result, not necessarily picking up too many points in those two games. They are tough places to play. And I think we do have to. If it was a normal circumstance, we would forgive the fact that points would be dropped. The problem now is that they can't afford to drop more points.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe in the article it says they have a 38% chance right now to make the playoffs. Like that's who would have thought of that at the beginning of the season? Yeah. They have I believe they're talking about the payroll as well, the value, I mean, of the club and the players. So and they're among the top of the league. So for that to happen, that's not as well. That's not
Inexcusable. Inexcusable.
exactly.
You do not fall off a cliff in the way that this team has this year. You look at where they were last year, where they should be based on the players that they've brought in, and there is not a single excuse for this team being in the position that it is. It is atrocious.
Definitely. Now I don't want to, talk about this for the entire time, but looking at these games, Owen, Orange County to me seems kind of like the most quote unquote winnable game out of these ones right now. You have, like I said, Memphis, Louisville, Sacramento. Now that Sacramento, just a little heads up, that's going to be at least, I believe, 4 days before their game against Sporting Kansas City for the U.S. Open Cup. So I'm assuming Sacramento is just going to rotate their squad for that one. Then you have Oakland. So if you were telling me, if you're asking me which games are, the most winnable ones for Rising this month, the one this weekend against Orange County, you have the one against Sacramento with the rotated squad, and then Oakland. After that, if you pick up any other points with Memphis, Louisville, and Colorado, I would take that as a really clear victory. But losing any points with any of those 3 teams that they can win those games in, it's going to be really hard to bounce back from that in the second half of the season.
I mean, this is the thing. We're looking at Orange County right now and saying that's a winnable game. But you know what we were doing 2 weeks ago? You know what we were doing 2 weeks ago? We were looking at Loudoun and saying this is a really winnable game.
It's Loudoun.
They were Loudoun United. Come on.
Yeah.
And Orange County ended up winning against Loudoun last weekend. I just feel as though if the team do not pick up, I mean, arguably, to me, it should be 3 points. I think it's win or just, frankly, pack it in for the season if you can't win this weekend. But at the very least, you cannot lose again. If you lose again, if you end up in a position where you have tied the club record, which goes back to 2015 when they were Arizona United, and we remember those Arizona United days, that's a completely different team. It was just atrocious. It was awful. And they were playing in baseball stadiums as well, which didn't help. But this is just, at that point, you might as well just pack it in. Let's be honest, because the form, the way they're going, the games that they have ahead of them, what are they actually giving people to believe right now?
Yeah, no, definitely.
We'll have some positivity coming soon, I'm sure. We can start talking about how they might actually get the result against Orange County. But hey, let's see.
Yeah, definitely. Just to end on a positive note with this, right now Rising are only 4 points from 7th place, so there's still a little bit of time. But again, this is when you not only does Rising have to earn points, but now they're gonna have to look at how's Vegas doing, how's El Paso doing, and you don't want to get in that position because it just makes it really tough. So, all right, Owen, let's talk about Orange County SC. They're heading into town this weekend. Their record is 4-5-8. They currently have 17 points. -4 goal difference. So that's something that I kind of want to highlight right now, just because it's basically their two strikers right now. You have Cubo Torres with the former Mexican international who's leading that front line. Orange County, they've lost 5 out of their last 6 games. Got that victory against Loudoun. They played yesterday against San Diego, which turned into a wrestling match for a little bit of that game from what I saw. So how are you feeling at Orange County? And like I said, this is for me the most winnable game, but how are you feeling about the players and just their entire season so far?
I feel as though looking at Orange County, yes, they've struggled. There's been some tactical switches around for them. They've kind of switched between the back 3, the back 4. They're not quite sure what they're going with. They haven't had as much success necessarily with it as they'd have wanted. You do see a team that is actually quite, as we've spoken last weekend about how certain players were the ones scoring goals and everyone else effectively wasn't. You've got a similar kind of thing going on in Orange County. It's not quite as immediately, just 1 or 2 players as it could be, but Milan Oloski has got 10 goals on the season. He's clearly well ahead of everybody else. Eric Torres with 8. So outside of that, no one's scored more than 3.
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, you'd imagine it's got to be Oloski. You've really got to track him, and Torres, you've really got to track him because they are players that will make you pay. They do share a lot of it around, though. If you look even at the chances created, there's not necessarily a person that stands out above the pack. There's a lot of people, Seth Kasipli, Daniel Pedersen, who are all creating chances right now, even when you look down to like Miko Kaningas. There's quite a few people there who can create chances. They have had times of this season where they've just gotten frustrated and kind of reverted at times to that long ball kind of system that we saw last season from them. The difference now is that the long ball is out of frustration more than anything, and that's why they've been struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
But there are more elements to do as well. I mean, one thing that we've seen that might be a bit of a cause for concern from Rising, we've seen how badly Rising has coped with having to go out wide and play it in from the wings. We've seen that the crossing hasn't been there. They've struggled in that sense. That's kind of how Orange County are. They're not a team that are going to really rush up and press you. So in one way, that's good because you're not going to possibly see those same kind of turnovers that we've seen Rising struggle with, where they turn the ball over and very quickly it's created a chance. But it is bad in the sense that they're a kind of a team that force you out wide. They take over a lot of that space in the middle, and they're going to force you to go out wide. And if Rising can't cross the ball effectively, they're really going to struggle in this game.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we've seen that the entire season when it comes to crossing and playing with the striker that's in the middle, it's been really tough for the wings to connect with whoever's in the middle. Is it Greg Hurst? Is it Antwi or Repetto? Schantz has rotated a lot of those strikers, and it really comes down to Epps and Santi Moore, and even Babu if he's able to get into that part of the field to make sure he connects with the strikers. As far as the Orange County and their players, they did have a new signing this just announced today, I believe. Dylan Powers, who's returning from Ireland. He did play in that championship team last year. Is it with Orange County? I feel like a lot of their best players, like they've kind of become this club that kind of grow players, and then they get what they want from them, whether it's a championship run or just a few games, and then they kind of just ship them off. And so, how do you feel about that? Is that a big reason of why they're having the 2022 season that they're having?
Kind of, but not entirely. There's obviously different elements that go into it. Kobe Henry obviously went for big money over to France. You also saw Ronaldo Damas departing, and he was a real threat, especially on some of those long balls. I wonder if that's kind of impacted them slightly. He's a player who was definitely dangerous a lot of times. He's a player who did actually get my vote for final MVP and did win the MVP award for the final. Arguably, people will say I should have given it to Patrick Wachowski, who's found himself benched lately in this season. We can touch on the goalkeeper situation there later, but I don't think that you can necessarily point to it as really the only thing going wrong there. I think that it's also something that realistically clubs at this level have to strongly consider, which is how do you generate money, especially when you are a team like Orange County that I wouldn't argue necessarily smaller market, but they're kind of awkwardly competing, aren't they? Because they're on the fringes of LA. You've got the lights of LA not exactly far away. And you've got 2 big teams there in terms of LA Galaxy, who historically have been a huge MLS team, and LAFC, who have really grown into, something that can compete with Galaxy in recent years.
Yeah.
And when they're in that awkward kind of a situation with that, it's a way for them to help generate revenue that they really need to be able to compete with some of the
Mhm.
bigger clubs in this league. They're never going to draw the kind of big attendances that you see other clubs getting when they're 8, 9, 10,000. That's just never going to be them. So it's a really wise way to try and match some of that revenue without having to, effectively just up and move yourself somewhere where people will come to your games.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense honestly because as far as USL, I'm pretty sure they're set on just staying in the league. They're not looking to move up. Like you're saying, there's already 2 other competing clubs in the same market, so they're probably no use in doing that. So, yeah, no, interesting club over there. Let's move on. Actually, well, I was just reading this that you go ahead.
I was going to say, should we touch on the goalkeeper issue? Because I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
bring
go
it
for
up
it.
then. We didn't. So Patrick Rakowski obviously was really a bit of a hero for them at the end of last season, particularly with some of the saves he made in that final, with penalty stops, because of course they had a couple of shootouts on the way there to the final last year. He actually started the season off, and in these past 2 games has dropped down to the bench.
Mhm.
He's been dropped, so he is no longer the starting goalkeeper for them at the moment. Instead, it's Colin Shuttler. Now, Shuttler was interesting, what I saw out of him yesterday. You saw a goalkeeper who might be able to get to the ball, but I tell you what, he can't hold that ball. And so if you're a
Yeah.
striker for Rising, you've really got to be ready to pounce because expect those balls to be spilled. In fact, that's exactly how one of those goals came about yesterday.
Mhm.
San Diego's opening goal came about because despite the ball being shot straight at him, he couldn't hold it. And it just kind of
Yeah.
trickled past him. And so they go up and tap it in on the goal line.
Mhm.
But seeing that really makes you question, well, do you bring Rakowski back in? Because that was amateurish. I'm sorry. That was,
Yeah.
and it was multiple times in the same game as well. It was bad.
You think it was like first game nervousness? He
It was
hasn't
his
played
second
too
game he
much.
played against Loudon.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I mean, but San
I
Diego's a
don't
little bit
know.
different. Yeah, no, for sure. So
Yeah.
Rising's gotta, rip those shots and especially be ready for those rebounds as well.
Exactly. For a team that takes a lot of shots, they've just got to be prepared for the fact that 1 or 2 of them are going to get spilled back out. Be ready to poke them in because if he is playing, he will probably give you those opportunities. And on the current form the team is on, you'd better take them.
For sure, for sure. Before we're done talking about Orange County, Owen, I was able to see that Ivan Gutierrez was able to secure a contract after the 25-day trial, I would say, mini contract. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so he appears to have impressed there. He did come out, he played yesterday, came on off the bench. I believe he got an assist on the weekend against Loudon as well.
Mm,
So clearly they have seen something in him that was not seen here. And it's back kind of home for him almost. He's
yeah.
from, I think he's from Riverside, isn't he? He came up through the Galaxy Academy. That's why he played
Mhm.
for Los Dos before he came to Rising. So he's back over to Southern California. And good luck to him, but not this weekend. Of
Yeah.
course, that reminds me there is another player suspended as well. Since you
Was this
mentioned it.
with the wrestling match?
Oh, yes, it was with the wrestling match, and it was Ahmed Longmire who is on loan from Nashville. Going to a bit of a wrestling match with Isaac Vassell, and
I was watching the
both of them
highlights, and that
saw.
it was just weird. Like
It
I
felt a little bit. It felt a little bit almost like an ice hockey fight, didn't it? Where they kind of both grabbed each other. There were a
yeah.
couple of swings, and then they just end up on the floor.
I mean, typically with soccer, like you say a few words, you kind of like put your face next to the guys, and that's it. But
And there
these
might be a
guys were like
push.
grappling. Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes you normally see a push. You don't see them grab. They
yeah,
push.
yeah. That was
Or
something.
like a
And
headbutt or something, but hey, who knows?
yeah, no, that was odd. It just came out of nowhere too. I don't know what even the commentators were saying. We didn't think we saw anything that bad as far as a foul or anything. So maybe something was said or they have some history or something. But that was pretty crazy. Speaking of 25-day contracts, Lamin Jané, do you expect them to see the field this week? Have you heard anything about him?
So I asked this to Rick yesterday. not yesterday, sorry, Tuesday. The way he put it was, it usually takes around about a week for an ITC to pass.
Mm.
So for the international transfer clearance to be given, the 7 days would be today. So it's plausible that he could be available. It's plausible
Mhm.
that he's not, but it's running it close, is all I'll say. He's running it
Yeah.
very, very close.
So if that does clear, did you get the feeling from his answer that he maybe wants to see him on the field, maybe on the bench, just to get him some feels out in the game?
I tell you what, I can tell you the chat isn't too enamored by him. As we got Thomas here saying, just gonna let his 25 days count down and send him back. I just,
Give
I
him a
don't know
chance,
what we're gonna
Thomas.
see.
Come
I don't
on.
know
What
what we're
else we
gonna
got?
see. I really don't know what we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Because
And
25
that was
days
my
is not long. There's some
yeah.
really tough opponents in that time spell.
Mhm.
And when it really comes down to it, if some of these games are close, in the nicest possible way, it's going into a 1-1 game late,
Mhm.
say do you really want to just throw another guy on? Or
Yeah.
if you're up by 1 goal, do you want to take the risk of just chucking an unproven guy on?
Mhm.
This is
Yeah.
this is the point now where points are getting so critical for Rising that you just have to think it's got. I mean, another thing that Rick said, he said he was about pace. He's really, really pacey in the final third. Something else. To Reese's point of does the 25 begin when when it's signed or when he's cleared? That I can't answer. I don't know the answer to you there. Um, I just I'm really uncertain at a point where points are so scarce and so vital going forward. How much room outside of being several goals up or down against the
Mhm.
team you really have to actually experiment and to put different people out there and to give them a go, because you don't have really the opportunity to gamble now, do you? You need the
Yeah.
points in the bank.
Yeah, and I don't think he's the answer for all the prayers from Rising fans and then the club. It's this guy that comes from the Dominican Republic. Not to disparage that league or whatsoever, but it's a big change. And you throw him against Orange County, and if he's able to get cleared, the following week against Memphis, it's a tall task, man. And you're asking a lot from this guy to come in, especially if it's a tight game, like you're saying, or if it's a 0-0 game, you give him 10 minutes at the end of the game, you expect him to do something. That's a lot of pressure, man. I wouldn't put it entirely on him to do that. So hopefully, Rising's able to get off to a good start this weekend. If he's cleared, get some minutes under his belt, because it's only going to get tougher from there for him in the competition.
And I said it last week and I stand by it now. If he comes on, if he's brought on for the last 10 minutes and he makes a critical error, I just don't think that the fans will kind of forgive at that point. That will just be the impression. Effectively, nobody outside of Rick, it appears, is actually convinced of this signing.
What if he gets
No
like a hat
one is
trick or
convinced.
something? Like, there should be some
So
DraftKings odds on this.
if no one's convinced, the minute you give them a reason to say, "Oh yeah, no, this guy is just bad as we
Mhm.
expected," then that's what's gonna.
Not good.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Before we wrap up the segment, Owen, any updates in regards to injuries or players, anything like that? Are we gonna see Seijas? Is that I saw him at the D-backs game yesterday, so he looks okay.
Everything was very vague on Tuesday.
Mhm.
The talk was there were a lot of people who were maybe close, but it was going to be
Mm.
hit and miss. It was going to be, you know, today maybe they worked out if they were going to be fit or not. And so,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons, they like to keep those things close to the chest. They want to make sure that Orange County won't find out who's going to be available. They really quite closely guard things like that. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, who knows at this point? It would be nice to see Luis Sejas back, but
Be really
we
nice.
don't
Yeah.
know at this stage.
Yeah. I just feel bad. I see it, like I follow him on Instagram and I see what he's doing. I'm like, come on, man. Like we need you back, like what's going on with that. So we'll see. Hopefully he's able to get to see the field this weekend. So we'll see. All right, Owen, I appreciate all that. Let's take a quick break and talk about our friends at OGs. If you guys haven't already, make sure to check out their products online. You guys can go to ogsbrands.com and purchase your very own OGs. They actually just launched their first ever limited editional seasonal flavor, Pina Colada. It's a perfect pineapple and creamy coconut blend. And again, you guys can check out OGs online at ogsbrands.com and also on their Instagram at OG's Brands. You can also find their products at your local dispensary, and you must be 21 years or older to purchase. Yeah, I'm gonna need to go get some before
I've
Saturday.
heard if you go out, you take yourself a nice amount of OGs before the game, then it perfectly sets you in the right frame of mind to turn around the day after and go, I thought that performance was actually pretty good.
No, I don't know. I don't think even OGs can help with that. But if you guys want to try it, definitely ogsbrands.com. You guys can check it out. Let me know what happens. So, all right, y'all. Yeah.
Ooh, can I hop in with Bonnie's question here? Let's just take that. What's the word on Arturo Rodriguez? So, by the looks of things, they've had promising progress. It looks as though he's starting to maybe be able to put weight on that foot. Up until now, obviously, it's been in a boot. Putting weight on that foot would be a great start, but he's still a little way out. So, just got to be patient on that one. It's again, when you're out for 6 to 8 weeks with an injury and it's a foot injury, it's rough. You got to take it slow and steady and make sure that he's back fighting fit, because at the end of the day, Rising can't afford to have him out for a longer spell further down the line.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was gonna say. If he's injured and he feels like he can go, no, like you hold him off until he's 150% ready, because that's one guy that you do not want getting injured again, because it gets pretty thin in the midfield if he's not there. So definitely gonna make sure he has a speedy recovery and a safe recovery. All right, Owen, let's talk some USL Championship action. Action starting this Friday. Some good games coming up on Friday. We got the Baby Bulls hosting Pittsburgh, Colorado hosting Sacramento, which is going to be a great game, and then LA Galaxy 2 hosting Oakland Roots. So any predictions on these games? Any odds? I don't know if you have the DraftKings app.
Oh, we could do. We can get to that. Let's get to the odds later, but for now, let's just look at those games specifically. I think that Switchback Sacramento is going to be a really interesting game for me. The other two, not quite so much, even though Galaxy 2 against Oakland Roots is one that's, we don't want it to be consequential for Rising, but right now, looking at where they are in the table, it's a consequential game for Rising. So these are going to be big games tomorrow. But Colorado Springs against Sacramento is really a kind of a test of ambition in some ways. Sacramento started to pick it up. They've got to show they can get it done against a Colorado Springs side that is honestly limping a little bit at the moment. They lost to Hartford on Tuesday. They lost to San Antonio last Friday. They need to find their way back into this Colorado Springs. They're not really at the peak of their form, and they started the season off so well. Can they keep it going now, or are they going to start to fade away? Again, really interesting storyline there, and I think that just from a football fan perspective, I want to see that. You always want to see games between top teams in the league. Galaxy 2 against Oakland Roots, though, of course, is the one that matters more. Unfortunately, from a Phoenix Rising perspective, as you look at two teams just outside the playoffs. And just to be clear, as if anyone's not quite sure of what could happen on Saturday or not, Rising can't drop to 12th. They also can't make it back into the playoffs on Saturday. They're currently 4 points behind 7th spot. So, but those two teams, Oakland and Galaxy 2, are both on 24 points. So they are both 3 points ahead of Phoenix Rising. Arguably, from a Rising perspective, you want to be greedy. You want to see both teams drop points in that game. So you're probably rooting for a draw, simply because, that's 2 points dropped for each of those sides, rather than one of them being on 27 points and starting to creep that bit further up the table. 25 points, you're only 4 points ahead of Rising. You don't want one of them to really start getting on a run and pulling away. But
because even if Rising loses,
Galaxy hold the tiebreaker, to be clear, over Phoenix Rising, and will for the entire season, because the head-to-head, Oakland, it's more complicated. The two sides haven't yet faced each other. We'll discover who has the tiebreaker later on in the season, but
it's definitely. I would say, I mean, if you're a Rising fan, definitely this is the game to keep your eyes on. Again, just because they're a little bit ahead of Rising, and if either of those teams starts to pull away, whether it's 4, 5, 6, 7 points, it's gonna be pretty tough for Rising to catch, especially if they keep losing points and losing matches. So definitely something to look at. Yeah, Colorado. I feel like at this point in the season, this is where you kind of start seeing what teams are made of, and maybe some rotations, just because you kind of get into those summer days, and you're kind of just making sure that everyone's okay injury wise, and that they're not hitting it all cylinders right away. You kind of want to save that till the playoffs. So I don't think Colorado's too crazy or too worried. I mean, about worry of losing points right now, especially at where they're at in the standings. But yeah, they want to make sure that they're not dropping too many points. So definitely for that. This weekend, my USL game of the week, I think it's Tampa Bay versus Memphis. That's going to be something in the Eastern Conference.
Absolutely. And of course, it's important for Rising looking ahead. You've got a future opponent in there. They're on the road in St. Petersburg. But yes, two big teams. Memphis, not usually, not historically, but this season they are. Tampa Bay, of course, have made two USL finals in a row. So that game, an interesting one. One of the ones I'd pick out, and it's an interesting one to me at least, is Vegas are hosting Detroit City. Now, Vegas, of course, is known for being a mess. Detroit is known for its atmosphere. I'm just intrigued how those Detroit players, they might think they play in a really, really aggressive, fantastic atmosphere at home. I'm intrigued how they adapt to what is going to be a bizarre atmosphere in Vegas. Yeah. Now, I hear that Vegas are doing a halftime hot dog eating contest to celebrate the 4th of July. Well, maybe not halftime, but they're doing a hot dog eating contest. It's
Vegas.
Not
at least it's not a
water balloon fight.
Water balloon fight, yeah.
Yeah, but
who's in charge of this stuff? Yeah.
Who's in charge of this stuff? I tell you what, it's my good guy Brett Lashbrook, who thankfully has nothing to do with the MLS bid there by the looks. Not a shock. Then, of course, before we really get back in, there's one more game as well that's coming not on because they're playing Friday, Monday. It's a really weird one here. Colorado Springs are playing San Diego on Monday night. That's a big game as well. We can say Monday's part of the weekend, right? It's kind of a weird,
is it in the week, or that's why I didn't include it in mine.
It doesn't count as a midweek game to me. Midweek is like Tuesday. When Monday games are normally ones from the weekend that have been moved.
Yeah,
but this is weird because it's Friday, Monday.
Yeah, should be interesting.
Should be an interesting game. That game taking place in Colorado Springs. So yeah, I tell you what,
got all those COVID situations earlier this season, right? So they're probably making up all these games right now. So it's probably catching up.
So there's a lot of jiggling around with the fixture list now to try and make up for some of those. Now, would you like the interesting news or the bad news I found about Saturday's game for Phoenix Rising?
Man, I'm just scared when someone says something like that nowadays.
Okay,
what's going on?
The referee for Saturday's match is Michael Radchuk. That's already been released by PRO. Radchuk has taken charge of a fair number of Rising games over the years, and there have been 3 wins, 2 draws, and 5 losses in those games. However, he has specifically taken charge of this particular matchup between Orange County and Phoenix Rising, or inclusive there of Arizona United and the Orange County Blues. He has taken charge of this matchup 1, 2, 3, 4 times. The total results over those: 1 draw, and Rising has lost the other 3 games. So as recently as 2020, by the way, those numbers there. Rising had him twice last season. Vegas home, Tacoma away, won both of those games last season. But yes, Rising's record with Michael Radchuk is not the best.
I was just gonna say, this sounds like a Scott Foster CP3 situation with the Suns, as Michael was saying here.
I will say though, in defense on this one, which is saying it's not as bad as it looks. All but 2 of those games were all away from home for Rising, and the 2 games that were in Arizona, Rising actually won both of those by quite convincing scorelines.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
So yeah, just some interesting stats for you there. I thought.
Yeah. I don't like those stats. Yeah, it doesn't bode well for Rising. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on Saturday. I mean, if the ref is determining the route of the game, that's not a good sign for your team. If you're relying on him, whether it's good or bad. So they got to take care of business at home. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, Owen. Let's take a quick break and talk about our friends at DraftKings. If you guys have been on Twitter or been checking out the news in regards to free agency with NBA, take a break like me, because I've been really stressed, especially with the Kevin Durant stuff to Suns today coming out. There were actually a lot of odds going on if he's coming to Phoenix or not, or any of the other teams. So if you guys are looking to make some money, definitely put your bets on DraftKings, especially to see if Kevin Durant comes to the Suns. So but this weekend, besides NBA free agency, UFC 276 is also taking place, and you guys can make some money with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. You guys can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX, bet $5 on any UFC 276 fighter to win, and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code PHNX this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Yeah, Owen, that Kevin Durant stuff's been stressing me out, man. Like
right now, he's a heavy favorite at the moment, according to DraftKings, to come here to Phoenix. Phoenix at the moment -200 for him to play his next.
You can't even make that much money anymore. But who's the second one?
Brooklyn Nets. He'd stay there.
Same.
Plus 700.
Yeah, no. Shout out to
there's the difference between those odds right there.
Yeah, that's big difference, and it's gone down because early in the day it was like plus 200 or something like that for Suns. So make sure to lock in those bets early if you're looking to make some money off of this. But I do want to shout out the PHNX Suns coverage of this, the free agency, that they've been doing amazing. They did a show over there at the that Four Peaks, and they did a show today. I think they're gonna have a show right now at 7 as well, talking about NBA free agency. So super busy time in the NBA. Never a dull week in the NBA and USL Championship. So
speaking of USL Championship again, now we did mention the game. Should we quickly run through those odds?
Let's go for it.
So Red Bulls 2 against Pittsburgh. No one is surprised. Pittsburgh are the heavy favorites in that game. -145.
I don't know about that one. Pittsburgh.
You want to go with the Baby Bulls? You're taking the Baby Bulls.
I wouldn't take them, but man, I wouldn't go for Pittsburgh either. The way they're playing.
So what are you thinking then? A draw, no bet on the Baby Bulls?
Oh man,
because it's not as risky. Then you're just saying you don't think.
Honestly, I do. Win. Honestly, at this point, I would just do Pittsburgh. But if it was a midweek team, I'd go with Red Bulls. But since it's a weekend one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, how do we feel about Colorado Springs against Sacramento? Colorado Springs the favorite in that game, +105. Sacramento at +225.
I'd take Sacramento on that one. They're playing again on Monday, so no, they're gonna have to rotate their squad.
Okay, and then Galaxy 2 against Oakland Roots. Galaxy 2 +170. Oakland Roots at +120.
I don't bet on Galaxy anymore. Like I don't know what happens with that squad. But Galaxy 2, a quick shout out to Johnny Perez from their squad. He was playing for Mexico in the under-20 CONCACAF championships, where Mexico got knocked out by Guatemala, but he was the best player for Mexico yesterday. So just a little quick shout out to him. But yeah,
you know what? We're gonna put you on the spot here. I want to know your pick. Give me one of these games. I want to have a correct scoreline.
Oh no.
One of these 3 games tomorrow.
I'll take Sacramento 3-1 against Colorado. I think
He's taking Sacramento to win 3-1.
Watch it explode in my face.
For that scoreline, you can get odds of +3,000.
Put $5 on it. I don't know.
So there you go. There's the bet of the day.
What's 2-1? What's 2-1? Because I feel like 3-1's not crazy.
2-1 is +1,100.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah,
it's still not a bad one.
Pull that.
Yeah,
we'll see.
There we go. Those are Ramon's bets of the day. Go for one of those 2 score lines, and then make sure to tweet at him when you lose money.
Yes. Let me know, and that way I'll just like it and keep moving on. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see interesting games. There's no odds for the Saturday games, right? Yeah.
Not as of yet. They will come on tomorrow.
Okay, for sure, for sure. Yeah, Elizabeth says the PHNX underscore Mercury also have a pod coming up as well. That's right, that's right. Mercury's been playing really well lately. I always try to check out. I haven't gone to a game yet, so
They've picked it up after some real early struggles.
yeah. Skylar Diggins, she made the All-Star game, so picking up. We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely check them out if you're a fan of the Mercury. Fan of basketball overall. All right, Owen. So yeah, that kind of wraps it up for today with us. Kind of a short pod after us Tuesday's pod where we got really animated there. But yeah, any other stuff you want to talk about today?
It's time to get it back on track. No more excuses. No more waiting. No more, we'll fix it next week. No, the game's coming up. It's very simple. Realistically, you have to win this game, or there is just writing off the season. I think is that's seriously now. You just look at the games coming up. I don't think they get this back on track until probably August if they can't get a win tomorrow. I'm not convinced even with a win tomorrow they'll get it back on track. But yeah,
Bonnie's asking for your predictions, Owen.
Yeah. Predictions are it's going to be an annoying, plausibly very dull game.
Oh man.
But whether they grind out a result or not, who knows? Who knows?
What's the weather gonna be? Is it like 110 or something? On
Probably.
Saturday?
Let's have a look. The
106
weather
I see
with
here.
PHNX. What do we have here? So I'll give you the forecast for 10p at least. So on Saturday, sorry, we're gonna have a high of 106.
Yeah.
So it'll be a few degrees lower than that, you'd imagine.
By game
For
time.
the time it comes
Hopefully
around.
we get a little bit
yeah.
of a breeze. So
Yeah.
yeah, look at that spam bot. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing here.
Yeah,
Hey,
we start getting spam bots in the chat now. Apparently, we're a massive.
Drop a super chat or something, if you're gonna be here. So
if you're gonna advertise like scams in our live chat, can you at least please drop us a super chat? Pay for that space,
yeah.
advertising space.
Yeah,
Pay for it.
It's not free real estate. Yeah, you gotta pay for it.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. That wraps it up for us for this Thursday. Next week, just a little heads up, we're gonna have a great kind of segment. We're gonna be giving out our mid-season grades next week. So and that's regards to the players, coaching staff, the team overall. So be on the lookout for that. And also next week, Owen, we might have a little bit of a schedule change, but we'll keep you updated on that.
We might. I'm hearing that our the flights out of Phoenix to Memphis might be at weird times and it might interfere with it. Lands after midnight, okay? Into Memphis.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have time, that's where with the new Elvis movie coming out, that's where his place is, right? Near Memphis?
Yeah, Graceland.
Graceland. There you go. I was looking for the name. But yeah. If you have time, check it out. Elizabeth, if they left the super chat, would you read the comment? I mean, I'd probably have to, but probably not what they have put already on there. So
shout out to Michael though with F's in the chat.
Yeah, shout out to everybody here today. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back on Saturday night for the PHNX post game show. Hopefully with some great news, a great result from the Rising.
You're hoping.
I'm hoping. I'm not ready for another Somber Saturdays. It's after the last one.
There we go. We've got a name for them. We're just gonna call them Somber Saturdays from here on out until the end of the season.
Don't brand it. Don't give it.
Hello, welcome to Somber Saturdays with PHNX Rising.
Oh my god, no, let's not do that. Yeah, and if you guys haven't yet, make sure to follow us on our Twitter account at PHNX__rising.
Double the underscores and double the Somber Saturdays at the moment. Let's be honest.
I hate you so much right now. We're at 618 followers. Get us at 650. I'll be giving out this scarf right over here for one of our followers. All right, y'all. Have a great night. Thank you again for watching us, and we will see you on Saturday. Until then, be well and stay safe. Take care.